Hi there, this is Glycon. Glycon is a motion capture system that uses your VR equipment to perform motion capture. Now, I'm in the old dojo arena, which is one of the loadable arenas, and I'm using that because it's easier to see my character against it. I want to make sure that you can see everything that's going on here and understand what you're looking at. This is Glycon with a new inverse kinematics replacement called Flare. Flare. It stands for Flawless Limb Articulation and Imitation Response. Thanks to Actors with Strings for that R word there. Thank you very much. Flare basically is my attempt to create a replacement for IK that's a little more human-like. And what I mean by that is I watch a lot of computer-generated shows. Flare is my attempt to take control over all of these things that normally are a pain in the ass. Take, for example, foot slippage. So you see my feet down here. They're probably alternating back and forth. You might have already been hypnotized by the colors. Well, the trick is this uses center of gravity calculation to figure out which foot is currently the one that has all the weight on it. And it locks that foot in place while you're moving around. Now, this is an awesome idea. One of the best ideas I've put into Glycon, and totally not my idea. I ripped this off a bunch of scientific papers about pose estimation. But it's not a bad idea, so I stuck it in here. And basically, when you're moving around, it calculates your center of gravity. If your center of gravity is over a limb that is on the ground, it's going to lock it in place. So you don't have to do foot slippage repair after the fact anymore. Like I was saying, I've watched a lot of videos of motion. I've watched a lot of videos of myself walking around. I'm curious, though, if you know of any shows that you enjoy that have humans in them, and the human was definitely mocapped because it's a computer-generated show. If you have suggestions for shows like that, you think the mocap is really good, please leave a comment so that I can make sure I've seen those shows and watch them and look for things that I should try to add to Glycon to allow you as the user to create better motion capture. So, oh yeah, there's human joint-based movement. So all the joints here are actually based on human, the range of motion for human limbs. And I'm going to expand on that in more detail later. I've got a few things in here that don't quite adhere to that, just because at the moment I need to make sure that I see them if it tries to create some of these out-of-bounds scenarios. Like you can still spin your elbow around if you take your controller off and you go all janky with it. You can do that, but normally, generally speaking, when you're using the controller, you shouldn't see that. When you first come into Glycon now, the setup is just slightly different, and I want you to be aware of this. When you come in, when you hit the bottom two buttons to calibrate it, it's going to put you in a different pose than normal, and it's going to put you in a little pose like this. And when you see this, you just stand exactly like that. You put your hands in space where your hands are, and you try to put your feet kind of close together at the bottom, and that's it. And then everything else is calibrated from there. So your leg calibration should be correct, your hip calibration if you're wearing a pelvis tracker like I am, chest calibration if you're wearing a chest tracker. Glycon now supports elbow and knee trackers as well. I have not extensively tested this, so if you have elbow and knee trackers, you want to give it a shot, please let me know. I am constantly, now that I have Flare in here, I'm constantly updating how Glycon handles that incoming data and what it does with it to create more human-like movement, and I'll get into more of that later. So I just want to tell you, this is the new version. It's out already. It's version 80. I bumped the version number up from 77 betas that were going on forever to 80 because the Flare engine literally ripped out half of Glycon's code, which was very frustrating. It was like this much of the code is IK, and then all the rest of it was code to correct errors in IK. And so Flare rips all that out and just replaces it with better code. Okay, without further ado, let me show you how easy it is to animate something and get it into iClone. And the reason I want to do this is just to show any new users exactly what you're getting into. So if, let's say you wanted to animate a person walking around, and you're going to do that. So what you do is you push the top button on either controller, and in this case I'm using an HTC Vive with a headset, two hand controllers, a pelvis tracker, and 2 feet controllers, 2 feet trackers. So I'm going to hit the top button on one of my controllers, and let me show you that. Okay, so I'm going to hit the top button on one of my controllers. I get a little countdown. It says 3, 2, 1, recording. And now anything I do is going to be recorded, and it's going to be saved internally as a kind of a custom file format. And then when I'm done, it's going to export it as whatever format I've specified. In this case, I said I wanted to export an FBX file, so we're going to get an FBX file. So if I'm, looking around at something, and maybe I point at something over here, point at something over there, put my hands down. Now, it's going to be a little jumpy because I'm actually recording this on the same system that I'm doing this on. This is an HTC Vive 1.0, and I'm in a weirdly lit room, so this is definitely not ideal conditions, and you should have much better results than I have. But I'm going to stop recording now, and now we're going to take that animation. Now, there were glitches in that. I'm not trying to cover that up. That's one of the reasons I loaded this room, and I have the high contrast suit on, is because I want to show you any glitches that exist, just so you know what you're getting into. At the same time, I want you to keep in mind, if this avatar was like a gray body with just discs, you know what I'm talking about. You wouldn't see most of the mocap errors as they're occurring. You wouldn't notice them. If you're a gray character on a gray background, you're not going to notice those. You're only going to see those after the fact when you go to have to clean it up. And then you're like, oh, that's weird. I don't remember any of that stuff. That's because it was designed to prevent you from seeing that. And Glycon kind of goes the other direction. It's designed to make you see all of the issues so that you know that they're happening. All right, so I'm losing my tracking here on the pelvis. That's why it keeps jumping around. So without further ado, let's get into the let's do the PC side of this. So I'm on my PC. I'm just going to sit down over here and open up iClone. Let's go do that now. Walk, walk, walk. And I sit. It is kind of funny how good the new IK system is and how it works even in situations like when I'm sitting down in my chair. I could not do this before. The IK system I had before just would not allow this. Flare does this pretty effortlessly. Pull up this guy, and you'll take any of those recordings and just drag it straight onto a character. So this is the process for iClone. Oh, and you want to set the frame rate to 30. Yeah, I'm working on that. Right now we're doing everything at 30 frames per second. So this is the same process you'll use for Unreal and Unity and everything else. You pick the file format you want, and then when you're done, it just exports a model that should be in that file format with that skeleton and everything. So there shouldn't be any conversion necessary. And then you hit play. So the elbows are a little bit too inward. That's a calibration thing. I didn't think about that while I was shooting the video. I noticed it, but I didn't really think about it. Oh, that's all it is. That's all there is to it. Okay, so that's it. For more information, you can go to glycon3d.com and grab yourself a copy if you don't have one already. And if you do have a copy, go to glycon3d.com, go to the members only section, and get the update. Cannot wait to see what you guys do with it. I want to point out this version requires a headset, hand trackers, feet trackers, and pelvis. I will very soon have all of the previous features of Glycon, including the ability to do full body tracking with only the upper body. And then shortly after that, we'll have that on Quest. And shortly after that, we'll have that with Moco Pi on Quest and everything else. And then after that, we'll talk about some other cool stuff other directions we're going with the product. For more information, though, glycon3d.com. Can't wait to see what you guys make with it. Thanks. Have a great day.